I don't think any one version of Christianity has always been so good for everyone. Federal agents have been sent into a major city in the United States of America. Less than 14% of the people they've taken into custody had any criminal activity on their record.
This doesn't feel political to me. This feels like a mental jujitsu sometimes, if you're going to excuse it away, as an American. This does feel hard.
Because my own son, we have 4 children, 2 of our children are adopted, and our son Ruben is Mexican in heritage, and he was born here in Minneapolis. He drives for Amazon, and his dispatcher told him, people who look like you need to carry your paper. An American-born kid, Minneapolis-born, is carrying his papers because ICE is daily pulling people over, pulling them out of their cars, and bringing them to the Whipple building.
What does love require of me?
You know, there's a poet who said it something like this, that ultimately our human call is to walk each other home safely at night.
Buckle up. This is What the Hell Do I Know with JB.
Welcome back to another episode of What the Hell Do I Know with JB. And today's guest is really my new friend who I met through the social media of Instagram. And Doug, and am I saying it right? Is it Pagitt?
Yeah, that's right, Pagitt.
Pagitt.
1 G and 2 P's.
Right, that's right, Pagitt. Doug Pagitt, all the way from the great state of Minnesota, which, if you're keeping up with things, has been in the news a lot. And so, Doug, I just kind of want to jump in, and maybe you can give us a little bit of background of where you come from, and are you from? I mean, did you grow up in Minnesota? All that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, good to be with you. Yeah, this is home for me. I've lived here all my life, but 2 years where I did too long in Texas, just outside of Dallas. And I've made my home here. My family's from here. I've pastored churches here. And I'm involved in all kinds of community engagement and activism, especially around this ICE assault that's been happening on our city. And have been very engaged in that work, as many people in the city of Minneapolis have, in all the ways that we possibly can. And I spent my life inside the evangelical spaces of Christianity, and I operate inside of a progressive evangelical subset of that group, socially, theologically, politically. And really try to live in the way of Jesus in the world, and I think that compels us into certain ways and behaviors that should motivate us to be a benefit and blessing to the world, and to care about others as much as we care about ourselves, or as much as we even say we care about God.
Yeah, for sure. No, you know what? I think you're right. Sometimes sometimes I feel like we could be a lot of talk, but are we a lot of action, you know? And I want to make sure that if you like what we're doing, I mean, again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You wouldn't believe that most of you, and I see it because you'll comment and you don't even realize that you haven't subscribed to the show. It is a free way to support what we're doing and the content we're putting out. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button right now. And what does that look like? And it's interesting too, because I heard you say you were in like a subset of evangelical, and some days I just wonder, what does all this mean anymore? You know, it's just so muddied. And what does a Christian mean anymore some days? And I guess I don't know. And it was interesting when you said that. When I grew up, it was like, you know, and I grew up in the South, you know, and Bible Belt, and I grew up in Southern Baptist Church, which my mother felt was super liberal compared to growing up in the Independent Baptist Church. She felt like she was 1 degree over from a Mennonite. And so it was, you know, it kind of kept just different stuff. And I remember Methodist, I remember Presbyterians. We had some Catholicism, not much, but outside of that, I don't even remember what was going on, you know? Yeah. So then you had the explosion of the mega churches, of course, with the non-denominations.
Yeah. And look, this has been a part of the religious tradition of our world, and especially the Christian tradition, for a very long time. I mean, you can take it all the way back to the Gospels, and right. There are 4 of them, and a lot of people know that. and I don't think much about it. But part of the reason there are 4 of them is that 4 different communities in the early stages of Jesus following life put together an authorized version of a gospel of Jesus. And they don't all match.
Right.
They don't all say
Right.
the same thing. In fact, one of them, my particular favorite, the Gospel of John, is the most peculiar from the others. And it's because different communities, even in the earliest days of Jesus following, were trying to figure out, what does this even mean to be a Jesus follower? I mean, that's what the Apostle Paul was about. Paul is in an argument with those in Jerusalem who thought that all Gentiles should have to become Jews first before they could access the blessings that Jesus called them to. Other people disagreed with that. The disciples turned their backs on one another. There were, some of us can name some of the disciples. Very few people can name all 12.
Right,
Because some of them don't really even carry enough reputation. So in some ways, I'm bothered by the fact that Christianity is hard to define. But frankly, I'm kind of glad, because I don't think any one version of Christianity has always been so good for everyone. And God cares more about people being connected to the way of Jesus than that we all do it right, or we all do it the same way. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't some ways that are super harmful, super obnoxious, super wrong. But I like that stuff the Apostle Paul writes, where he's like, look, there's a better way. There's a more perfect way. There's all the permission to do all the things, but not all things are beneficial, even though all things are permissible. Like, that's what faith is. It's not locking into one mode and one banner and one title. It's trying to figure out, how do we live in this dynamic spirit of Jesus that's alive in our world in ways that are as legitimate today as they have been any other time? And that means people are going to do it differently. And we're going to disagree with each other. And then, of course, church history just takes off and amplifies that for, literally for 2 millennia.
The canonization of the Bible, and whether the Trinity was true or not was a heated topic at one point in time in the church. So you're right. There's moments in time.
Even the gathering up of what books of the Bible we
Yeah.
should include.
Yeah. There's some that have, 66 and some that I think 68 books in the Bible that right now are circulating in our world. So,
and then the Apocrypha,
Yeah.
the Apocryphal books inside Catholicism. You have the
Sure.
split between the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church. So it's a human reality. And I'll just say this: people who've tried to button it down, try to buckle it up, try to put it all in the same form, they're probably the most frustrated people trying to live out their Christianity. I think it's better to.
You know what? That
to
is
let the
so.
Spirit move.
That is such an interesting way to do it. And I love how you framed that in the history of our church, that sometimes we feel like the world we're living in is so chaotic. And that doesn't mean that it's not chaotic and that we should try to find inroads to peace and comfort to especially those that are hurting. So, and that's at any time, in any century. But history just continues to repeat itself. I mean, what was it? Is it Solomon that said there's nothing new under the sun? So, it just we keep repeating itself. I often, it's funny because I feel like you're telling us that we started getting it all wrong when Jesus ascended.
I think we got it wrong while Jesus was walking around.
You're right.
I mean, Peter's swinging swords, trying to chop people's heads off.
Right.
You have this narrative. I could just do a little quick sermonette here for a minute.
Yeah.
Where the conversion of Peter in some ways happens in the book that's recorded in the book of Acts, when he goes into the house of a Gentile Roman centurion named Cornelius.
Yeah.
Peter sits down, all these things happen. Peter says, after this meeting with a Gentile who has the Spirit of God come upon him, Peter says, now I see how clear God's mercy is. Now, after time in the Gentiles' house, maybe a decade or two after Jesus, not walking with Jesus, not being somebody who's going to be a proclaimer of the resurrection, not an ascension guy. He doesn't get it until decades later, sitting in the home of someone he thought was his enemy. So I think if we feel like the point is that things were good, then they went bad, and we need to go back to them being good, I think we kind of, not only do I think we miss the point of Christianity, I think we might miss the point of humanity. I heard somebody talking about racism, and he's an anti-racism trainer, and he said, look, I was taught that racism is like your tonsils, and you could have your tonsils taken out. So you could say, here's the day I stopped being a racist. He said, but I'll tell you, as a mixed race man in America, I recognize that racism is more like daily oral hygiene than it is having your tonsils out.
Okay.
So you don't say to someone, oh, I brushed my teeth 4 days ago. There can't be anything in my teeth. He said, every day, living in the world we live in, we have to look and see where racism has impacted us, where it's called us, where it's ruling in our lives, and we have to sort of deal with it on a daily basis. And I really liked that way of thinking about not only the issue of race in our country and our lives, but a whole lot of other things. Like, okay, so division and frustration and separation and argument, those are things that are going to be new every day, like the blessings of God, right? So they're going to come new, and every day we deal with them.
Right.
And every day we work through them. And we shouldn't act as if, hey, I thought we dealt with that a couple of millennia ago, or I thought we dealt with that a couple of days ago, or a couple of years ago. Instead, I think we say, right now is our day to step out and to make this world the way that it can be, and then we'll do it again tomorrow. And not to be so shocked when all of our efforts, or the efforts of those who've gone before us, didn't solve all the problems, because it's not supposed to. It's just not how humanity functions in lived life. And I think that's what Jesus was teaching. I think that's why we're called to this ever-presence of the Spirit of God alive and active in the world.
I love the way that you're talking about Jesus, and I love the way that you're sharing the nuances of our faith. It honestly, it breathes hope into this guy that sometimes gets frustrated with saying that I'm a Christian. I said this the other day. I'm just calling me a Jesus follower. I don't even know what Christian means anymore, and because I love Jesus, and I love talking about him. I love sharing it with others, and I love the relationship I have with him. And again, I say this all the time. I think having a relationship with Jesus makes me better in all my relationships. And so I want to, and I want to figure out what is that, how, I ask the question all the time, and I think Andy Stanley may have coined this years ago, and that's where I'm guessing it came from. But what does love require of me? What does love require of me? And that is a question I think we have to ask ourselves. Make sure you support my boys here at Floorzz.com. We're in their studio right now. That's FLOOR. Z.com, baby. Floorzz.com. They will take care of all your remodeling and new build needs. Floorzz.com. Check them out. Tell them the jabroni sent you. TrueNorth Pest Control. They take care of all them critters. You got palmetto bugs? They take care of them. You got ants? They got you. You got bugs little flying around? They'll spray for them. They clean out all the cobwebs. They're all over Central Florida, here in the Emerald Coast, and then the whole state of Georgia. Check them out, TrueNorthPestControl.com. They are your pest control superheroes. So when I look at what you guys are going through there in Minnesota, what can you say to this guy way down here in Florida? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're on the polar opposites, really, of our country here. But I'm seeing things on TV, and I'm seeing things on social media, and my eyes have seen what they've seen, and I'm disturbed. What can you tell me what's going on?
Federal agents have been sent into a major city in the United States of America, given permission to be masked and unbadged and unnamed, to drive in rental cars, to pull up on citizens and those legally in the United States of America, and to demand of them, throw them on the ground, to break their car windows, to demand that they show their proof of citizenship. They've been gathering up people by the thousands. And it turns out that according to their own internal documents, less than 14% of the people they've taken into custody had any criminal activity on their record.
Wow. You got to be kidding me. Less than
86% of the people that they have taken up are either U.S. citizens or have no criminal activity at all.
86%?
86%.
I thought we were supposed
And
to.
that's what you hear from DHS themselves.
That's from the DHS. So I could look this up. In fact, I may post this up. So this is from their website.
Yeah, this is from their, wow. I wish DHS put out their information on a website. They put it out on internal memos.
Oh.
So people have to do all kinds. So, yes,
So this
there's all
is kind
kinds
of
news reporting that
whistleblower
shows
sort
the
of
numbers.
stuff, I guess.
Yeah, not even whistleblower. It's
Yeah.
just they're not sharing it publicly. They're sharing it with each other.
Okay.
So that's what's happening in the United States of America. Now, the reason it's happening in Minneapolis is because the current president of the United States said, Minnesota, retribution is coming.
When did he say that? I mean, and by the way, I'm not trying to disagree, but when did he say, and I'm not a Minnesotan, so it very well went over my head.
Yeah.
When did he say this?
Yeah, he said it about a month and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
Retribution is coming. Well, I think he actually said the day of retribution is coming.
Wow. So
you might
this was
wanna
kind
ask
of a
for
revenge. So
retribution for what?
feels very revengeful. I guess Tim Walz is the governor who ran against him, maybe.
Yep.
The other thing that I think is interesting is, I think what's interesting about this is that I think I read a statistic that said in Florida, for instance, especially southern Florida, that there was a larger immigrant population in Florida than there is in, I think, Oregon and Minnesota and somewhere else combined. It was like 2 or 3 other places. And but I think Florida's didn't vote the same way. So it seems like there was some ulterior motives just based on, like, if you're looking at heat maps of where immigrants, and you really wanted to say, I want to go after the worst of the worst, seems like populations of immigrants might larger populations of immigrants might have been where you would start.
Yeah, look, if somebody were saying where should we go if we want to truly get people out of the country who pose a danger, don't think you'd pick Minnesota. I don't think.
Right.
I don't think in this state where no one asked for the help, it came against local leaders' requests. It's been in opposition to the people of Minnesota.
Right.
Because look, I do a lot of immigration work. I've worked on the border. We work with people all over. I'm very well engaged in immigration work in the United States and what needs to be done. The city of Minneapolis has a significant and beautiful and crucial immigration community from all over the world. A lot of East Africans, people from Somalia, who, by the way, Donald Trump wants the representative from Minneapolis, Ilhan Omar, to, in his words, go back to the shithole country that you came from.
Right.
Speaking to an American citizen who's a member of Congress, says that about her. So what this is about is not about immigrants. It's not about keeping the people of Minnesota safe. It is about a federal government using its discretion to drop retribution on people it doesn't like. So Chicago, Los Angeles, Charlotte, Portland, Minneapolis, not Florida, not Texas, not Longmont, Colorado, where for more than a year, people who differ with me politically told me about the Venezuelan gangs in Longmont, Colorado that needed to get out of the country. But 3,000 masked federal agents into a city like Minneapolis, where there's one ICE agent for every 1,200 people living in the city.
That's pretty significant. That's pretty significant.
Jason, I don't know where you are on the political spectrum who you talk to, but if I talk to my don't tread on me friends, and they've told me about why the Second Amendment is so crucial to them because they're prepared to take up arms when the federal government comes in to threaten them. I don't see them on our streets. Haven't seen one single don't tread on me sign. In fact, when Donald Trump said you don't get to carry a gun in Minneapolis, they basically stayed quiet.
Right. Now that one definitely, it should uproar anyone that cared about the Second Amendment, for sure.
Yeah.
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 And
Because
I do have friends that I have seen go, whoa. and
Yeah.
pull back all of a sudden. Even some of my staunchest people on the right would say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Especially my military friends. We have a lot of military in our area, and a lot of military people are like, "I fought for freedoms, and that Second Amendment means something to me." And so
Yeah.
I have a lot of military friends that are like, this isn't okay,
I mean, you think about all the Christians who were told for a very long time, a day is coming when a person's going to take control of our government and they're going to marshal forces to come into American cities. Will even shoot citizens in the back a dozen times while they lay on the ground. Will shoot moms in the chest while in their cars. And that day we will rise up, because they thought it was going to be, I don't know, the wokey Antichrist.
Right.
But when it actually happens in Minnesota, all those people now say, comply or die.
Right.
So that's the situation we find ourselves in. And look, I've been out on the street. I know that people who look like me have been shot and killed by ICE. I've confronted ICE agents. I see the vitriol in their eyes. I know they've got their hands on their guns. I know that they've been told that by the Vice President of the United States that whatever they do, they have blanket immunity, which is not true. They're going to be punished for crimes that they've committed.
Right.
They've been lied to.
Yep.
They've been emboldened. So that's what's happening. And at the same time, what's happening is beautiful Minnesotans are standing together with fellow citizens, people across faiths, and many faith leaders, many Christian faith leaders standing together.
I've seen that being beautiful. And I constantly tell my friends that the one thing that we have to remember is that we're called to mourn with those who mourn. It doesn't say that we have to agree with everybody. It doesn't say that we have to feel the same way. It doesn't say at all. But when I see people mourning, how do I mourn with you? How do I stand? How do I say? Because something's off when I see as many Christians standing up and saying, I love seeing the beautiful songs that I hear being sung in these peaceful sort of protests saying, hey, this is for my neighbors. I know there was, it probably was Tony Campolo that I think heard I say this, but a lot of, and it could have been a number of speakers that would say this, but usually you can hold so much vitriol for whatever side you want, whatever, who paint anybody you want, somebody on the right, somebody on the left, somebody that's part of the LGBTQ plus community. You could, we could go down the line of whatever it is you want. Somebody of a different color, but usually that person doesn't change until, like all of a sudden it's, your son or it's your daughter or it's your, when you're somebody close, when you start breaking bread with someone, or them really tight, or them really good, that's usually can motivate you. And so it's easy. I guess what I'm getting to is it's easy that all the way down here in Florida, you can say, well, you can't believe anything of what you see, and everything's doctored. And that's why I wanted to really talk with you or somebody in Minnesota, because we say that this is what we see and that we're so far removed. But until you get to know somebody and you get to hear what's happening, and it's not happening to you right here. In Florida, it's not happening to me. I'm not seeing anybody doing any of this. But what I'm seeing is, as a person that enjoys freedom and as a person who is third generation immigrant, my great-grandfather came over from Hungary through Ellis Island and landed in Atlanta and, worked an assembly line for Haverty's Furniture Store. So when you hear these stories of these, we're all these immigrants. I mean, aside from the Native Americans, we are all these, just immigrants. And so these stories are bothersome. But what would you say to people that are saying those things that I'm not seeing? Maybe their algorithm is only one way, right? And it's pulling from one trend, and they're hearing it's sanctuary cities, that need to get things in control. I mean, what do you say to that sort of thing?
Yeah. Well, it depends on who they are. When I talk to my states' rights friends that are so committed to states' rights and they don't want the federal government telling them what to do, and they're still arguing about the times when the federal government, in their view, has overreached, I say to them, Doesn't a state get to establish itself and its own rules? Or do you want the federal government to come into your local municipalities and tell you how to behave on issues that they don't have constitutional power to do so?
Right.
So to those people, I
Good
say,
argument.
well, would you, I mean, you are folks who lost your mind when you were told by your local officials that you had to wear a mask for public health reasons.
Interesting.
Then it was
Yeah.
a violation
or
of
the
individual
or the
freedoms.
shot. The shot was the other
or
one.
get-
Yeah.
or getting a shot.
Yeah.
And look, I get it. We can make an argument about the fact
Sure.
that you don't want federal mandates.
Sure.
But I find it very difficult for people to say, we don't want federal mandates on some things in our city, but we are very comfortable with them on other people in other cities. So sometimes it's that argument.
Yeah. No, that's an
But
interesting
the
one.
other is, look, well, I can hear people already because I'm in these conversations with them all the time, and they're saying the right thing. They're saying, well, Jason, your grandfather from Hungary came through Ellis Island legally.
Well, it was a little
you're
easier
quoted.
then too, but yeah.
It was possible then.
Yeah.
Like literally, the United States reached out to countries across Europe and said, please come because
Right.
we're going to build a country and we need more people.
Right.
So they were literally reaching out for them. And currently, in the United States, more than 50% of the people that are in the country without authorization are here because their legal status expired before they could become citizens. So we have a system by which more than 50% of people who come in the country legally don't have a pathway for them to become citizens. You often hear this as the pathway to citizenship.
Right. Yeah.
Our laws have created an impossible task to become a citizen. And now in this current Trump administration, they've canceled all kinds of citizenship pathways. So people came in the country legally, now can't stay in the country legally, but their entire families are here and they say, tough luck, we have to follow the laws. But here's the thing. Those are the laws made by the very same people that are trying to enforce them. So if someone wants to get rid of illegal immigration, really that's your problem. You don't like that people are here illegally. Pathway to citizenship. What Ronald Reagan did in the 1980s could be a big step for some people, which is to do blanket citizenship for people who've been here for 20 years or more and all this. Solves 50% of the problem.
Right.
The other 50% are people who were welcomed into the country as asylum seekers, and now the Trump administration is revoking their asylum status. People from Afghanistan, people from Somalia, people from Honduras, people from Venezuela, people from Cuba. These are people the United States has said you have a verifiable claim of protection to be in the United States, and the Trump administration calls those people illegal immigrants in the United States.
Wow.
Nothing illegal about them other than they have revoked
They just
their status.
so they've
you
just
have a-
taken their status away. They just said no good.
They canceled it.
They canceled it. Wow.
I mean, look, I've very dear friends that we helped come here from Afghanistan, and after the collapse of the government in Afghanistan when the Taliban took over, they were able to get out of the country, and we helped them resettle in Minnesota. And Donald Trump has said he wants to revoke Afghanistanis' status in the United States.
Wow.
It's just unthinkable, Jason. I mean, I
Yeah,
know that people
yeah.
think none of that's true, all that's made up. Look, I have no time to spend lying to anyone about this stuff. I'm not going to be
Right.
out on the street yelling at ICE agents for a lie.
Well, I talked to somebody the other day, and they were questioning me because I am in a. By the way, I feel like even going back to 2010 when I started seeing this immigration sort of thing coming up, I just remember thinking like, why are we so in arms about immigration? We have a declining population, and we need to figure out this immigration and do it right. And I've seen the argument of well, they need to come legally. And I've never quite. Something's never set right because I think I'm here, and I'm hearing from you that when people come over, what is their next step? What is right? And you're saying that it's completely broken. If there's 6 steps to get to citizenship, we've lost steps, 3 through 5 or something.
Yeah, exactly. And to even come in the United States, if you're from Central America or Mexico, you are facing somewhere between a 15 and 25 year wait before you can get a visa to come and work in the United States.
When
15
you
to 25 years for no good reason.
yeah.
Jason, this is going to blow your mind. We have a law in the United States around immigration that says no more than 10% of all the immigrants can come from any one country. Of all the people who are going to get legal status to be in the United States, only 10% can come from any single country. Now, does that make any sense when you think
weird.
about
Yeah.
where people live and who wants to come to the United States and issues of proximity? The reason that people from Mexico can't come is because we put quota caps on how many people can come. And here's that's been in place since the 1890s, by the way.
Why would we have done that, do you think?
Because there was real concern that too many Hungarians were going to come to the United States, or too many Irish, or too many. They thought that the government was going to make a sweetheart deal with certain nations and bring in all kinds of people.
So then one culture would kind of then dominate over English culture or whatever culture that was dominant in the day. Which I guess it would have been British culture.
Yeah, we've had different groups that we've tried to keep out of this country. I mean, I was born in 1966, and in my lifetime, we finally got rid of the Chinese Exclusion Act, which meant that a Chinese person could not become a citizen until I think 1968 or 69. Could not do it. They could come and build the railroads. They couldn't become a citizen. They were forbidden from becoming citizens. And before that, of course, it was the Italian. And before that,
But you're saying
the
it was in your lifetime they allowed Chinese Americans to be in your lifetime.
In my lifetime, and I'm old, but I'm not that
right.
old.
No, I'm hearing you, Doug.
It's crazy. So all that to say, look, we've been bad on immigration from the beginning in this country. We tell these stories about how we were good on immigration, but truthfully, we have made selections that have been harmful to this country. And you can go back to Woody Guthrie songs from the 1930s singing about deportees and about people from Central America and Mexico being deported and dying on airplanes while they're flying out. So we have a long history of not being good on this. But what's happening now is that we have a current administration where the current president of the United States has said, immigrants are polluting the bloodstream of America. And J.D. Vance has made the argument in the Vatican, talking to Catholic theologian, that we have a moral and religious responsibility to limit immigration in the United States because too many people from Central American and Spanish-speaking cultures are going to dilute what it means to be an American. So we've never been good on it.
Wow.
But we've always kept these groups that are trying to say that immigrants pollute the true us, this blood and soil crowd, the people who say if you weren't born here or come from people who were born here, then you're really not a true American. We've always kept those people at bay. And unfortunately now, they have
bubbling
control of
up.
the federal government, and they are implementing that in this city.
Does it
And that's what's heartbreaking about this, is it sits in a larger context.
It feels like it's got when you present it in the way you're presenting it, it feels like it has, which I'm not saying you're doing it disingenuous. I feel like you're just laying out facts here. It feels like it has racial undertones. You know that is, or you know that I don't like. I just don't like that country. I don't like that look, or I don't like, that area of the world and the globe.
Look, there are people who hold these views that I vehemently disagree with, but they don't see it as racist. They see it as we need to control the amount of people coming in the United States so that the United States sense of itself is not overrun by so many people from other cultures that we don't end up with an American culture. That's their argument. They're trying to preserve American culture. Now, I think they're fundamentally wrong about that on a whole number of fronts. One of those is at the highest level of numbers touted out by the Trump administration. Sometimes you'll hear them say there are 20 million immigrants that have come in the United States under Biden, or sometimes they'll say 30 million who've come in the United States under Biden. This kind of thing. Numbers are nowhere near that, nowhere close. A third at best. But let's say it's 30 million. Let's just throw that out there for a minute. Current population of the United States, 352 million. 3 million of 350 million is less than 10%. Does less than 10%
Then
have the
infiltrate, yeah.
ability to pollute the 90%?
Yeah. I feel like just when I think about our culture of to me, I think our diversity is what makes us best. I mean, that's some of what I guess doesn't resonate for me when I'm hearing, you talk about this side of it that says that we want to keep an American culture. Like, to me, in my heart and in my soul, and what I love is I love the ability to go hang out with my Jewish friends and have Shabbat. And I love to go and, to the Indian friends and get some tikka masala. And, I don't know why I like talking about food. I do enjoy a good meal. So, and that is some of the diversity, but I love seeing the cultures and then the different dances and the different, entertainment. And, I think about that, I spent 2 weeks last summer with my children, and they're all older. I've got kids. I'm almost empty nested. I have a senior left in the home, and 2 that are out of the home. And but we got them all 3 together. And anytime I can get my whole core 5 on a trip, like this dad, his heart melts. And we were in Ireland, and that is interesting because that is culture. That is one way. You go in a pub in Ireland, you're singing a song. You're just going to sing a song. And there's going to be so many types of beers in there, and that's it. You go to the U.S. and you go in a pub in the U.S., and it's going to look different in different pubs, in different towns, in different areas. And most of them are going to have 15 different beers with different flavors. And to me, that's what I love about America.
We've been watching the Olympics a bit, and it's going on right now. So I don't know when this is going to air, but it's, we're in the, 2.5 or 3 weeks that are the Winter Olympics. And I was noticing that with many countries, you can sort of tell the look of an athlete.
Yeah.
But you see someone performing that's from the United States, and you're like, I don't know. They could be Asian. They could be black.
Yeah.
They could be Indian. They could be Hungarian. They could be English.
Right.
It's really hard to say, like, what does an American look like?
You're exactly
Now,
right.
if you think it looks like Melania Trump, if she's your picture of America, okay. But she's not the picture of 350 million Americans.
Right.
The thing we have been always is a multicultural community. But that is the very thing that the architects of this current administration's plan around immigration wants to bring an end to. And I am not making that up or saying that simply in a derogatory way.
Right.
That's what they have said. They have said all this diversity, all this DEI, all of this cultural milieu, we need there to be an America.
Well, where would
So much so that some of them wouldn't watch the Olympics.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, wouldn't watch the Super Bowl
Right.
because the halftime
Right.
performance was done by someone who's an American citizen, not in the language that they demand.
Right. But they
As
did
if
watch
this
it.
isn't a community of many languages.
Turns out they did watch it, though, right? I mean, it was on at Mar-a-Lago, whatever.
Even at Mar-a-Lago, they're like, you know what I'm not going to watch is Kid Rock sing songs about the young girls that he wants to get with, even though he knows it's statutory rape.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the guy that people at Mar-a-Lago, in light of what they've had going on, want to be cheering on. So look,
Yeah. Lyrically, I think
if someone
artists
was bothered by Bad
gone the wrong way.
Bunny not being an American, but they weren't bothered by, I don't know, U2 not being Americans,
Yeah.
or the Rolling Stones not being Americans,
Right.
and performing at the Super Bowl, then maybe your earlier thoughts about culturalism, ethnism, and racism could be correct. But I'll tell you, people don't see themselves as racists who hold these views.
Yeah, no, and I will say some of my friends that lean different directions or more right or whatnot, or however they want to categorize themselves, had a problem with Super Bowl. Some of them would have said that it was bad lyrics, and they would say that Kid Rock disavowed them, which I haven't found a spot that says he has, but and that he had come to faith in Christ or whatever, and that Bad Bunny had these bad lyrics. So I didn't hear a ton of, like, in my little world, I didn't hear a ton of they didn't see him as un-American, although that could have been an undertone that I missed. There could have been that that I missed for sure. But it was more about lyrics, to which I would say I think they both probably have challenging if you're translating lyrics. I tend to think that the artistry has liberty and turn it off if you don't like it. I mean, we get so in these uproars, and this isn't what it's about. This is just a distraction. As a believer in Christ, how do I love people really well? How do I look and say, if somebody's hurting and if rights are being taken away, that they mean something, you know? And one thing I wanted to ask you about, I talked to a guy the other day and he was in an uproar, and he doesn't live near me. He lives in another city, and he said, man, he was faulting the service and had voted for Trump, I guess, for a couple times in the current administration. And he just said, I'm done. He said, it's over for me watching what ICE is doing, going into these neighborhoods. And this guy, I think, works with young kids that have different, ethnicities, and not all of them are, citizenship. And he just said, I'm done. And he was so angry. I remember he said, if they come in my neighborhood, we're going to have problems. And I remember saying to him, like, look, you need to be careful. And you need to be okay, because what's happening here feels like, judge, jury, and executioner happening kind of right on the street. I'm concerned for you, and you need to be careful, and you need to do it peacefully, and you need to figure it out. But even peacefully seems like that's a problem, and I guess, and I don't know if it's a question or more of just an observation, but I remember he said to me, what's crazy is I fought for this country to have the right to be able to say how I feel, have the right to stand there and say how I feel, and we're having to talk about how I need to do it so that I don't get murdered. He goes, I'm not going to show up and try to, shoot ICE in the head or anything. He goes, but I'm talking about how do I approach, and part of it is like a bully tactic, right? Like if you say something, you're going to get something.
Oh, totally. I mean, we've maybe seen the same videos that I've seen of an ICE agent saying to a person, didn't you learn from what happened last week? And he was referring to the killing of Renee Good. Said to a person in a car while she's recording him,
wow,
didn't you learn what'll happen to you last week?
I didn't see that. Wow.
But look, this is what no decent law enforcement official, participant would say, do you know what I think we should do? Have unnamed, unbadged, masked men roaming our streets.
Yeah. Well,
we don't want law enforcement. No one, no law enforcement agent wants that.
Well, and discharging weapons in our streets too, Doug. I mean, law enforcement. That's what I think, that when you see a clip it, and I've seen all these clip-its of Ring cameras and cell phone videos and all this. I mean, you're there. These places that you've seen, and I know you've gone to the memorial sites of where these things have happened, and these sites have become
my neighborhood.
protected.
I mean, it's where I go for all the stuff. It's like
so. This is your neighborhood, right? This is your neighborhood.
I'm there all the time.
Are we talking? I mean, could you paint
I don't
a picture?
Put any of those places in my GPS. Is
like
what
how
I'm telling
wide?
you. Like,
from what I'm seeing, I know, right? From what? Wow. What I'm seeing, these aren't like, these are really tight streets. This is like the Mayberry to a degree.
Oh my gosh! Look, we had on our podcast a witness to the killing of Alex Peretti. He was the one shot by two ICE agents a dozen times in his back while he laid on the ground. And the person who he was driving down the street when that interaction between Alex Peretti and ICE happened, and he had his phone out, and he watched it happen. And hearing his description, he's a friend of a friend, because that's how it is around Minneapolis. Like. Everybody's one or two people away. Like there's no Kevin Bacon 7 steps. It's all like, people know people who know people. And so he's telling this story about what was happening, that Alex Peretti is just on the street because ICE was chasing a guy and he wanted to video record them. The guy got away. So ICE turned on Alex Peretti and shoved him, pushed him to the ground, knocked a woman down. I mean, all the things you've seen in the video.
Right.
And then they come up and take the gun out of his back and then shoot him a dozen times. So that place is on the street that That's where the Black Forest Inn is. It's this little German restaurant. There's a donut shop next door. There's a fantastic Greek restaurant. The street is actually called Eat Street.
Wow.
And it is.
It looks
and
like
the
a
guy-
war zone through the camera.
No, it looks like a war zone. And you're like, that's that sweet little 26th and Nicollet. Like I was a pastor of a church at 46th and Nicollet. This is a place where you go all the time. And what's so sad about it is these ICE agents probably couldn't find their way back to that spot. They don't know where it is. They don't care. And that's the part that to anyone in law enforcement, they're like, this is not how you deal with people. And if you think you're in a war zone, do you know what you really don't do is jump 7 guys on top of one. No one does that.
Right.
And if you think he has a weapon, Jason, you know what you really don't do? Lay on top of him.
Right.
Like
right.
all of this is
Seems like
and
bad
look,
policing to a degree too.
And you
Do you think that they're
and here's the heartbreaking part of that. Finish that story. We now know the names of the 2 agents who discharged their weapons and killed Alex Peretti. One of them is a 14-year veteran of Border Patrol who works in the unit that is equivalent to SWAT for Border Patrol.
Oh my goodness.
He is the most highly trained in conflictual experiences for Border Patrol. And he's the guy who unloads at least 9 times into Alex Peretti. So you're not talking only about there being untrained new recruits, which there are, but even the best trained are incapable of doing what human dignity would call for or what decent policing would call for. So when you see folks out on the street like us, regular people and grandmothers and former Trump supporters out saying this has got to end, it is not, I promise you, because we are paid agitators.
Yeah, that's
You know
what
who are
the-
paid agitators?
I've heard that argument.
Guys with masks on driving in rental cars.
Right.
They get a bonus. Their pay is literally connected to how many people they take into custody, even for a few minutes.
Really?
They are incentivized in their pay with a bounty.
Wow.
So the reason that if people say like, well, they're of course only going after the criminals. And look, so today they announced, Homeland Security announced something that our governor mentioned 2 days ago. They announced that the surge is ending.
I heard
And
that.
the big reason is now all the sheriff's departments at their local jails have committed that if there's a person in their custody who's in the country on an immigration status, they will let ICE know. Okay, so think about this for a minute with me, Jason. ICE tells us they're coming into our cities because there are rapists, murderers, sex offenders roaming our streets. And what did they demand before they would leave? That the county jails and the Minnesota Department of Correction would turn over people they have in their custody to ICE. So they're not roaming our streets. They're in custody.
Right. So that's
ICE
what
has not
moved them.
solved
So
a single crime. Every person they have taken into custody that they've bragged about, and they have 3 people that they've bragged about. All of those people were in Minnesota Corrections custody, either at the sheriff's jail or Minnesota Department
So
of
you're
Correction.
saying that. So what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say. Let me see if I'm because you're right. This is an interesting point. You're saying that the Minnesotans, sheriff's office, police departments, town. I don't know how y'all are policing
County
there.
jail, yeah.
County jails. That they have done the job of arresting and processing and putting people into holding cells or jails or wherever, the criminal illegal aliens. They've got them there in custody. And did ICE never ask for this, or is this the first time, or were they refusing to release them? I mean, but you're saying essentially we're going to leave now because now they're going to work with us. I mean, what the heck were they doing on the streets then?
They were not on the streets. So the Minnesota Department of
Okay.
Corrections had to come out. They came out 3 weeks ago. The head of the Minnesota Department of Corrections, a pretty straight-laced guy, and he said, look, I'm going to give you this press conference, and we're going to show you something because we've tried to communicate this to Department of Homeland Security. They're saying that they've arrested this rapist on our streets. Here's the video of us turning that person over to ICE in the basement of our county jail's parking garage.
So,
And
wow.
they are telling you that they captured him on the street. They did not.
Right.
And then he said, we are going to release a website from the Minnesota Department of Corrections countering all the false information coming out from ICE about how we operate. And different counties have different rules about how they notify ICE. And the only thing that has happened to change all of this is that counties have said, when we have a criminal alien, we will notify ICE. 3 different jails have said, we have on record that we have reached out to ICE during the surge, reached out to ICE and said, we have people here who've committed crimes and ICE needs to come and get them. And ICE never came and got them.
Wow.
The incompetence is incredible.
But was
and they're
it-
like, we literally can't hold these people any longer. They've served their time.
Wow.
Now we have to process them and you have to come pick them up. So when you hear that they'll say, well, finally Minnesota and its sanctuary cities gave way to ICE. Look, if that were true, fair enough. It's just not. They've done all of this damage. And in the end, what's going to have changed is ICE is going to continue to pick up people who are in Minnesota custody because they've never been on the street. And that's the thing that's wild about this.
Wow.
Why in the world would they be
That
telling
makes
the
it
American
so much
people?
worse. That makes it so much worse.
And just let me ask you this. If you were in trouble and there was a criminal activity going on,
Right.
you think you'd call Border Patrol to come and solve the crime?
Oh, no. No, no.
You think Border Patrol are like detectives and investigators and are figuring out fraud and are cracking sex crime cases?
No, no.
That's not what Border Patrol does. I've spent a lot of time with Border Patrol all over the country. I did a bike ride from San Diego
Right.
to St. Augustine, Florida, along the U.S.-Mexico border. I've ridden every single mile of it on a bicycle. I've been with Border Patrol agents all over. You know what they're not? An elite criminal investigation unit strolling into a city and solving crime.
Right.
What are they doing? 86% of the people they're putting in custody have no criminal record whatsoever.
You know,
And most of the people they've taken into custody, they've had to release. I mean, like the huge majority.
yeah. Yeah. You know, what's interesting is I
just wild.
I when I hear too that it seems to me that we've painted with a broad sword versus like the scalpel that is needed. And I tend to like, I don't hear Minnesotans, and I don't hear it necessarily from you, that deportation done right. Like, I guess, what does that look like? That like, you're not anti, immigration issue or I would maybe, is it deportation or are you anti-deportation? I mean, is there a room for that to be there, I guess?
Well, there are absolutely people who should not be in the country.
Yeah. Yeah,
They should be
So I'm not
removed
hearing you
from the
say
country.
that you don't think there shouldn't be people removed from the country.
100%.
Right.
But if you think the way we're going to remove people from the country is to go up to American citizens or people in the country legally, shatter their car windows,
Right.
threaten them, cut their seatbelts, drag them out of their car, hold them in detainment for a day, and then release them, you think that's doing any good? The amount of money they have spent. Did you know that Border Patrol and ICE right now under Department of Homeland Security for the next 4 years has more funding than the United States Marine Corps?
No way.
More than the United States
No
Marine Corps.
way. No way. Wow.
So does this make
Wow.
and if you believe somehow that it makes America safer to pay $50,000 signing bonuses to Border Patrol agents?
Yeah, I mean that's well, and then I hate these Border Patrol agents. It's like they need to read the fine print, because I do think they're getting kind of a little hammered because what I understand is that it's so many months, like 12, 18, you may know this better than I do, and they have to work that to kind of vest that 50,000. And if they leave before then, for whatever reason, they get sick or whatever, they got to pay back. They get taxed on the 50,000, so they may only collect, depending on their tax bracket, they may only collect 30,000 of it or 35,000 of it, or whatever it is. They have to pay back the full 50, though. I mean, but that,
Yeah,
by the way,
it's rolled out every year over 5 years. So
by
it's
the way,
basically $10,000.
I tend to think,
$10,000 a year over 5 years.
yeah,
And
I
a lot of
tend to
these guys
think the
who signed up
government,
for a
yeah,
$50,000 bonus aren't getting it for 5 more years.
5
And
more
anybody who
years.
has made, yeah, they get $10,000 a year. And
Ah,
anybody that's had $850 more a month realizes
yeah.
that's not the same as getting $50,000.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. You're totally
But
right.
frankly,
Yeah.
having to pay a signing bonus.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know who doesn't get huge $50,000 signing bonuses?
Yep.
U.S. Marines.
Well, my brother, when he got out of the Marine Corps, they offered him a really nice signing bonus. When the Marine Corps offered him a signing bonus to re-up. He ended up not taking that, and then they went into the next room, and it was like one of these teams were saying, "We'll let you, if you'll protect some prince over in the Middle East, we'll pay you even more money and a signing bonus is out of the country." And I remember he thought, "Man, this is getting a little ridiculous." He goes, "There," and this, to your point, he was saying, "This money's gotten so ridiculous, and I know those princes don't get, like, they're not sharpshooters taking out a prince. It's landmines and RPGs and all the collateral damage." He goes,
body bomb.
right?
Yeah.
He said, "I don't want to be, all the money in the world's not worth that." So, and I know some people make those decisions and do that for themselves, but for him, it was, but it showed it was kind of commensurate with, maybe the fact that one, need, and then two, danger. That they really needed somebody and it was getting harder and harder to get them.
Yeah.
And then two, danger is super dangerous, and that was making it harder and harder to get them. And so I
Like
guess
Elon Musk came into the government and cut USAID,
Yeah.
International Aid and
Yeah.
Development money, to
Yeah.
keep the world safer and healthier. And then we decided to give 50,000 signing bonuses and to fund a private police force of the president
Yep.
more than we fund the personnel of the Marines.
Well,
It is just
yeah.
like
It's
the
baffling what we're
absurdity
doing.
about people talking about fraud.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay, can I tell you one story? When we were doing our
Yeah.
bike ride along the U.S.-Mexico border, and there's a documentary about this and everything, and about what's happening at the border and why is our immigration system the way it is. It's called "Who's the We" of We the People, and it asks the fundamental American question: Who do we think of when we say "We the People"? That's a great question for any of us to ask. When we say, "We the people," in order to form a more perfect union, who pops up in your mind when you say "we"? We were doing this bike ride along the border, and people would come and join us. And I rode all 3,000 miles, but other people would join us for a couple of days or ride for 500 miles or something. So we had hotels along the way that some people would stay in as we were traveling. And we'd get to parts of the border, the southern border, like little border states. And there'd be a lot of, Hampton Inns and Holiday Inns and these kinds of. And very often the hotel rates down there would be $350, $400 a night for a Hampton Inn. And you're
Right.
like,
Wow.
those are supposed to be 129 top notch,
Right.
And when we would ask, why is that? And they'd say, oh, because Border Patrol has booked out the whole hotel nearly for the next 6 or 8 months. The amount of money that is being pumped in for this border security. We've spent more money on billions and billions of dollars in the last 25 years on border security. And still Republicans say the border isn't secure.
Well, I would say that they
Billions
may
and
argue
billions and
now it is
billions.
secure. I would say that my staunch Republican friends would say that it's more secure than it's ever been.
And what's changed? Just ask them for a minute.
Yeah.
What
Well,
changed
that's
in
a
the
good
last year?
question. That's a good question to ask. I don't know. I guess they would say nobody's coming into the country, which I think can be a
And-
problem.
and-
we
And why aren't they coming into the country?
well, we're not allowing them in. It sounds like, from what I'm
Well,
hearing
we
from
weren't
you, we're not
allowing
allowing-
them in. But here's the thing people say. They say, but all the people are sneaking in, so we weren't allowing them in. No one was allowing them in. So why are they not coming in the country?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really important fundamental question. If people believe this is true,
But
why are they not coming?
But were you saying earlier that they're not allowing people to come in? That's what I thought I heard you had said, is that they're not allowing people to come in right now.
Yeah,
Is that-
I'm
is that
saying
true?
that people, if they're a worker and they try to come for a visa,
Okay.
they're not allowing them.
Right.
If they're asylum seekers, they've cut off all asylum seekers.
Right. So
So,
that hence the
people
borders.
with visas are not illegal, and
Right.
people that are seeking asylum are not illegal. So those are not illegal immigration coming in.
Okay.
Why has illegal immigration stopped in the United States? If it
Legal.
has, if they say it has,
Well,
what changed?
legal immigration has stopped. Is that what you're saying?
illegal.
Legal?
Well,
they're saying
yes.
nobody's sneaking in now. That's what I'm hearing. They're saying nobody's sneaking in
Right.
anymore.
So why are they not sneaking in?
Because it's safer is what the argument that I would say,
Okay.
the counter argument would say it's safer on the border. There's more protection. We've closed the wall or plugged the holes. I don't know what the vernacular would be. But
I mean,
that's
Jason,
what,
I'll have you come with me sometime. We do trips to the
Yeah,
border all the
I would
time.
love
We can
to.
go down and meet these people.
I would love to.
The fallacy, like in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
there's essentially no wall anywhere. It's the river. It's the Rio Grande River.
Right.
There's no wall.
Right.
So why are people not coming in the country? If they've been sneaking in, and what they've been worried about is people illegally, like again, if people are not concerned about people coming in with visas,
Okay.
which Trump has stopped issuing,
Right.
they're not concerned about asylum seekers,
Okay.
which Trump has stopped.
Okay.
They're concerned about illegal entry.
Right.
Why have illegal entry in the United States stopped?
Well, has
Because
it?
of anything
Or-
this is what Republicans are saying, right?
It is what they're saying. Yes.
So why has it stopped? They didn't put any more people there.
They didn't build more wall. I think I read somewhere
Nope.
that they signed the last document to build the rest of the wall. There's no more wall. There's no more. So why has it? What would you say the answer
Okay.
to that is?
So what people have to deal with is even illegal immigration is a choice that people are making.
So you're saying we've made an inhospitable environment then? It doesn't look, the grass doesn't look so green over here right now. Is that what you're saying?
It's not because of border patrol agents. Because I'll tell you,
Very interesting.
what they say is like Trump came into office and they stopped the border within 3 months. No more people were sent. No wall was built. Nothing that ever happened in the unbelievable boondoggle that has been billions of American taxpayers' hard-earned money spent on border security. You know, it's $40 million a mile for the border wall. $40 million a mile.
Wow.
They haven't built any of it since Trump has been in office the second time. The first time he was in office, they only built 200 miles of it. They've built almost nothing. So that's not what it is. What it is that people are saying, we don't want to come to the United States. And if you think that what's going to be good for America is that we have less immigrants, wait till you have to have your roof done.
Yeah. I mean,
Wait until you need your tomatoes picked.
Yeah. It's going to put a big damper in on the economy for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And to a degree, it probably already has started to see some things.
Now what would be better? It would be an immigration system that makes sense. An immigration system where if someone comes into the country, they can go back out of the country and come back into the country. They could come as seasonal workers. But you know why people stay in the country when they come in as a seasonal worker and overstay their visa? Because they're not at all sure that they could ever get back in the country ever again.
Right.
So the chaos is what's created all of this problem. And truthfully, both political parties have been totally happy with the chaos at the border. And that's what has to change. We have not updated border laws
I know.
in our lifetime.
We just keep kicking the can down to the next administration,
And there is a bipartisan bill that's
Yeah.
between a Republican woman congressional member from Florida, and I've forgotten her name, and a Democrat from Texas whose name is Veronica Escobar.
Yeah.
It's called the Dignity Act. It's co-sponsored bill, a bipartisan bill that is the answer to immigration in the United States. This current House of Representatives won't bring it up. A House of Representatives, when it was under Democratic control, wouldn't bring it up.
Wow.
So you have to ask yourself, why is it that neither political party really wants to solve this border crisis? And it's not the one that they, debated about most recently, and then, Trump told them to back out of it, and they did. It's not even that one. It's one they haven't even called forward yet.
Does it feel
There
like
are some real solutions to
Yeah.
these problems. We don't have to keep living like
it
this.
feels like?
makes
I mean,
no sense.
one of the things I always hear is too, if what was, I think Ronald Reagan said, the worst words you want to hear is "I'm with the government and here to help." You know, so we continue to mess around with this stuff, but it almost feels like we're like pawns in a matrix that neither side's wanting to fix it. And do they like chaos because they like control? You know, is it
I
about
think
power?
both,
Is it
both
about,
political sides have a different reason for liking
yeah,
immigration chaos.
yeah,
They have different motivations for liking it. The problem is they both like it.
yeah,
And that's something we work with a lot of candidates. We work hard to make sure only candidates that want to solve the immigration crisis are going to be elected. And it would be great if Republicans would say, let's find a way to have the immigration system make sense in America. Because if you've ever tried to apply for immigration or know anybody who has, you have to ask yourself, why is this system so complicated?
yeah,
You know what else is amazing, Jason? That in the entirety of the whole system of any kind of immigration, how people get visas, how people get asylum, how people get a passport, anything to do with people coming into the United States or us going out of the United States, the federal government budgets from the United States Treasury $0 to pay for that, to pay for the process of immigration
right.
or the process of passports. All of it is paid for by fees
From the immigrant, correct?
from anybody. That's why if you've applied
Yeah,
for a passport, it'll cost
yeah,
you $250.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
why if someone wants to come, a band from the UK wants to come play music in the United States,
right.
and they're going to be working and playing at a festival, it'll cost them $15,000 or $20,000 for a 4-person band to come into the United States to play 3 festivals, right? All of those costs, because the United States government has somehow decided in all of its wisdom, we should make all immigration be paid for by people seeking to come in the country, whether it's for a work visa for a band or an immigrant from Chiapas who wants to come to be part of a crew that's going to pick vegetables. $20,000 it will cost some people to have to apply for a visa. For others, it'll cost them $3,000.
What is that in
And
relation
if they don't
to,
get the visa, they don't get their money back.
right?
It's a fee you pay to
Whoa,
apply,
yeah.
and you're not even guaranteed.
You're not
So
even getting.
who's
Who's
gonna do
what is that compared to other countries? Is that pretty I mean, I know if I were to say, I want to live in Spain, for instance, I'm going to have to go through some sort of process to be able to live there aside from just vacationing there, right? So what would that, do you know what that is? I mean, I wonder what the market is, for that sort of
Oh,
thing.
it's pennies
Yeah.
on the dollar.
Yeah.
Pennies on the dollar. If you want to go work in Mexico, $0. You've probably done it. I fly to Mexico.
Yeah, if I fly for vacation, for sure. But I mean, I've never said I'm going to, because we're talking about a different thing, saying I'm going to immigrate. In other words, I'm going to sell everything I have here in the U.S. and I'm going to, buy a place in Spain. There's going to be I've always thought there's going to be, I don't know what it is because I haven't looked into it, but I assume there would be some hoops I would have to jump through to let
Sure.
that country
Yeah.
know, hey, I'm not staying for a couple weeks. I'm going to be here for, a year or 2 years or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You would, and some
Apply for
countries
some sort
won't
of
let you
visa.
in. Some countries won't let you in at all. If you try to go to New Zealand and go there to work, they're going to want you to have, I think it's like $2 million of assets
Oh, really?
and $50,000 or $150,000 in a bank account that they're keeping track of.
Right.
And then you're in a lottery system. Like a U.S. person going to New Zealand, chances are you're not getting in from the U.S.
So
They're
would
like,
you
"We're
say
not
that,
taking-"
so that would seem to be more stringent than what we have going
totally.
on. Yeah. So,
Totally.
I mean,
How many people brag about the beauty of New Zealand's culture and government?
Yeah.
And again,
Yeah.
this is what Americans think they want as you mentioned earlier, an hour ago in our conversation.
Yeah.
In a declining population, do you want, and birth rates that don't keep up with death rates in the United States?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know everything about economics, but I do know this. If you have a shrinking population, you will have a shrinking economy.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very difficult over
sure.
time to grow an economy. I mean, I remember all my Republican
sure.
friends telling me about supply side economics.
Yeah.
And they were really committed to making sure that we expanded the economy. Well, you
Yeah.
can't expand an economy. The reason we got out of the World War II, as we all know, is because we nickname a whole generation after the baby boom.
Right.
What
Right.
caused this giant growth?
Right.
Increase in population.
Increase in
We
population. Yeah.
now,
There.
under Trump, have a declining population in the United States, and for the next 4 years we will. And when we reap the benefit not only of ridiculous taxation on American companies through tariffs, but a declining population over the next half decade.
Yeah.
Just real quick check-in. Do you
Yeah.
think the country's going to be doing better coming down the road? Now, some people do, and they believe it, or they'd rather have less people here that look like them until, as you say, they want to go out and grab a little ethnic food
Well,
on Friday.
and I just want to be careful too, because when you have if you have coin and you are fortunate enough to be in the upper echelon of our country, and there's plenty of people there that I think have worked very hard and treated people really well. But however, when you're in that world, when we talk about the economy doing really well, Dow up and stock market up and everything else, we have got to remember that the majority of people have a very simple IRA or a very simple 401k, and yes, they want it to grow, but they're in a paycheck to paycheck sort of situation. And so when you do have a tariff, or when you do have these taxes go up, I mean, they at the upper echelon has a lot of tools in their tool belt when they're in the stock market and their investments are in certain situations and certain places. I've been very fortunate in my life, and so I have a portfolio, and I'm able to do certain things where I know my brothers and sisters in that work really hard. They pay taxes in a different way, and one thing we know how to do is we know how to get every nickel from a brother. You know, I mean, we do.
Right.
We will increase this tax. We'll increase your car tax. We'll increase your, the grocery bill. I mean, we just do all these things, and they trickle down to that person. And that person, their best deduction is to say that I'm a family of 4 or a family of 5. You know, so we do forget that, and I think that it's important that if you are out there listening to this and you have funds to just. I wonder if that's the kind of the basis of this conversation is, can we at some point say, what would it be like if I was in their shoes? Well, what would it be like? I mean, what do you think the Christian response should be? You're there in Minnesota. You have Christians all around. What should Christians' response be that's not in Minnesota?
I think that if people are concerned about caring for one another, they're going to carry with them the concern for everyone, no matter who that is. Does that mean anybody wants to cover up for a criminal? No. And we have an entire system in the United States to deal with criminals.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you don't trust it, if you think it's all rigged, I don't know what to tell you.
Right. Right.
I mean, we have literally a convicted felon as the president of the United States. So there are people who just don't care about crime, right? I don't know how they reconcile it.
Right.
I don't know how they decide which laws they trust and which courts they trust and which juries they trust. And the guy pardons people that have committed crimes in January 6, 2021. And so whatever. But if you care about people, just know that your fellow citizens are not lying to you. And if you're pretty sure that the people lying to you are American citizens and the people telling you truth are the federal government, just ask yourself how conservative you really are.
I think that's a good way to put it, Doug. And one, in listening to this conversation too, one thing that's kind of struck me is that when all of this stuff came down with Renee Good, and the thing that really bothered me is that in all administrations, I used to hear if something bad like this happened, you would hear, sometimes even in Trump's first one, you would hear some rhetoric that I didn't like. But in general, I felt like you would hear, like, we're going to investigate it. We're going to look into it. And this was so disturbing that it was like, hey, look the other way. Nothing's happened. This is a domestic terrorist, right? And then Alex Preddy, and I know there's been others. I think there was the Martinez lady as well. I think there's another guy in California, Keith. And I hate that I don't know all these. And so if somebody's watching and screaming at me, and I'm trying today to be better than I was yesterday, and even still tomorrow. But when you see all of this happening, I think in some ways, even after Alex Preddy, it was kind of like domestic terrorists. He was there to, do harm to everybody. That was like in 3 hours. And it's since been walked back. And what I think I'm hearing and seeing, and I'm hearing it from a number of my friends. I have friends that I think are staunch in their position. And I tend to agree with things that you've said is how can you? And that's how I feel. But I have a lot of friends that it feels like the needle moved for them. And in that movement, I think that's because, look, there's no administration on the planet that doesn't look at polling numbers. There's no administration on the planet that doesn't look at, like, how are we going to stay in power? I mean, I don't even think that because the sheriffs have said we're going to turn over the criminals, they're going to leave now. I think it has to do with Americans, that it turns out that Americans are okay with deportation. They're just not okay with door-to-door knocking and taking away of freedoms. It turns out there's more of us that'll say that ain't okay.
Yeah, it's just
turns out
it feels so profoundly un-American.
It really, I will tell you, the one thing I've always been proud as Americans is when I go to another country and I see different ways. For instance, when we were in Ireland and we opened up a Coke can, a 22-ounce Coke bottle, they passed a law where when you take the screw top and you screw it off, it won't release from the top. And I know that has something to do with recycling and debris being thrown away and all that, but it felt super un-American to me. I wanted to be able to twist my top off, and I wanted to be able to hold it in my hand, and I wanted to be able to drink it, and I wanted to be able to throw it and dispose it away differently if I wanted to dispose it away differently. I want to be able to crush my 22-ounce can how I want to crush my can. And that to me is like embedded in my DNA, is that freedoms, and it means something, and I've always been proud of that in our country.
Yeah.
And
look, I get it that people are bothered by
Sure.
Democrats that lecture everybody about how to talk, and
Sure.
they ride them hard, and they're intolerable. But it's one thing when the federal government tells you what you can say
Sure.
and what you can do.
Sure.
And we've just decided in this country that the people have the power, and the federal government is responsible to the people. That's what the no king stuff is about. And I know some people are like, he's not acting like a king to me.
Right.
Like, yeah, people don't tend to think those acting like them
Right.
are acting like a king.
Right. Right.
But once a federal agent shows up in your town and comes flying in and out of the federal building where I just was before we started this call.
Wow.
I mean, the federal building is so close that at 12:30 I was over there making a video, and then at 1
you're over
o'clock
here. You're over here 30 minutes later. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like right there. It's
Yeah.
again, this is Minneapolis. Everything's right there.
Right.
So, federal agents rolling in and out from the federal government.
Right.
It feels like that's not really American.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
I have to agree with you. It didn't look. There were things that I saw that, I mean, it gave me pause at minimum and grief at other times. And anger
Yeah,
to a degree.
and look, we get it here in Minnesota. We get it that we're just people on a screen,
Right.
and it's kind of the next news story, and everybody kind of gets a break from it. But when you're here and people, kids are not going to school, healthcare workers are not going to and not because they're in the country without legal authorization, it's because they are rounding up people who look like they're someone who should be deported.
Yeah.
The person that they were chasing when Alex Preddy came up with his camera, we know who that guy is. And he is in the country legally. There's no deportation order. They saw him in his car when they drove by and spun around to come after him.
Wow.
He's a delivery guy, so he jumped out with his package, ran in. The person who was delivering the package let him in the back room because he's like, these ICE guys are after me. And like this is just a guy doing his job, but looks the wrong way. And why do I know that that could be true? Because my own son, we have 4 children. 2 of our children are adopted, and our son Ruben is Mexican in heritage. Wow. And he was born here in Minneapolis. He drives for Amazon, and his dispatcher told him, people who look like you need to carry your papers. So he came to our house to pick up his birth certificate along with his passport.
Wow.
An American-born kid, Minneapolis-born, is carrying his papers because ICE is daily pulling people over, pulling them out of their cars, and bringing them to the Whipple building. And I stand outside the Whipple building. It's the
Which is
federal
the
building.
federal
where
building.
they
Yeah,
come
okay.
back
Yeah.
out, and people are just coming out of there, and they're like, I've been in there for 12 hours, and my car was left on the side of the street. I'm an American citizen. And if you think that's not happening, I promise you, we are not making it up.
Wow.
This is not a conspiracy to get Trump. This is us trying to say, this is literally what they're doing. And Jason, you know what breaks my heart is that a month and a half ago on 60 Minutes,
Right.
the reporter said to Donald Trump, in Chicago, they're arresting moms. They're setting off smoke bombs in suburban neighborhoods. They're throwing people to the ground and breaking car windows. Do you think ICE enforcement has gone too far? And he said, I think it hasn't gone far enough because these people need to be out of our country. And within a month, you have ICE agents firing weapons into 2 Minnesota American citizens, frankly, white people, and killing them on the spot. And as you said, then the administration called both of them terrorists. Didn't even give the general good people on both sides argument. Nope.
Right. Right.
The mom dropping her kid off at school is a terrorist.
Right.
And the ICE agent, I don't know how PG your podcast is.
You can say whatever you want to say here. We're good.
The ICE agent, after he fired 3 times into Renee Good's body, said as she was driving to collide into a post and die,
Yeah.
fucking bitch.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay, so is this, he thought his life was in danger, or he thought she's going to do what I tell her to do?
Right.
You're not going to drive her car away. Like, okay, this is so renegade. And again, I'm just saying to anybody who, if they would be honest with themselves and think, if Joe Biden were president when this was happening,
Right.
where would you be standing? Because I think you'd be standing on the street. I don't think you would be saying comply or die. And if you would, fair enough.
Right. Right. Right.
Fair enough.
Right.
But if you're going to do, and look, I've been arrested under all kinds of administrations for civil disobedience. Okay, so like I am willing to stand up to Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Donald Trump. It doesn't matter. But if to some people, well, my view on this issue starts with who the president is, and if it's my team, then comply, and if it's their team, then it's don't tread on me.
Right.
And that's what I'm afraid we have come to. And frankly, and on both sides of this equation, I know people who are like, oh, well, of course Barack Obama had to deport so many people.
Right.
No, he didn't.
Right.
I protested Barack Obama's deportation
Did you?
process. Yeah, because it was completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
He was deporting people that had no business being in here.
Well, like you
He
said, we
gave a
haven't had it
medal-
right. We haven't had it right since 1890.
Since 1776.
Or- yeah, yeah.
He gave up a medal to Tom Holman, that
Yeah,
same
right.
guy.
Yeah.
So look, if you are just partisan,
Right.
then okay, then it's okay
Just
to
admit
say
it.
that.
Right. Right. Right.
But if you're not, and you're like, well, and it doesn't mean you have to say I hate Donald Trump,
Right.
but you can say
I don't like
think that
this.
guy
I don't like
knows
this.
what- and if the implication is that the other guy who you told you to wear a mask, you thought he was un-American,
Right.
I don't know, maybe like break your allegiance and to, look, to all of us, no matter where we are in the political situation, because a lot of people don't like either of them. I
Right.
mean, most people I know, they're like, I hate Donald Trump and I hate Joe Biden. I hate all you. I hate all those people. They don't care. They don't want any of these clowns in their eyes doing it. And I think there's a definitive difference between administrations, and so do they. So that's our political debate. We should
Right.
have that till the end of time. And
Agreed.
just like in Christianity, we need to have diversity. In our politics, we need to have diversity.
Sure.
If everyone thought the way I did, this would be a very bad world.
Right. Right. That's
Right?
a
It wouldn't even
honest,
be good
that's a
for
fair
me
and
if
honest
everybody
opinion.
thought the way I did. This is
Right.
ridiculous.
Right. Right.
But that's not the same thing as, you can't speak up against the administration.
Yeah. I
But
think
this
it doesn't have to
administration
be
has opened
political,
up
right?
criminal investigations into our mayor and our governor, and not investigations into the agents that fired weapons into 2 people in our city. That's bizarre.
I agree with that, and
Explain that.
I've never seen that before. Even when George Floyd, and you could go back to Aubrey down in Georgia, Aubrey. Gosh, I hate I mean the names and the Black Lives Matter, and during those times, and prior to that, I mean the list is so deep and so long. And I will say it seems like I've seen less of that list, since BLM. I'm not saying police brutality hasn't happened. I'm not saying there aren't pockets of it. And I promise you, to my black and brown friends that deal with this every day, I promise you, I'm not saying that because as a white guy, I almost shouldn't even be talking about it. But it seems in my eyes that I've seen less of that sort of brutality happening. But they still would say we're going to do an investigation. They may get off, but investigations started to happen. And like I said, this just this doesn't feel political to me. This feels like mental jujitsu sometimes, if you're going to excuse it away as an American. This does feel hard. I don't feel like this is a mental issue, a political issue. I agree with you. I think we need diversity, and I think we can argue these things on a side. But I think as a Christian, we are called to say, what is going on? We should be called to say, is there truth? We should be called to say, lean into, again, people who mourn, lean into it. Why? Question it. Be eager about it. How can we find, because might doesn't mean right, we got to figure that out. We're called to be different, and so we should question it out.
There's a poet who said it something like this, that ultimately our human call is to walk each other home safely at night. Like what we're doing here is helping each other make it and to make it home.
Yeah.
And if we have that view rather than, you get it more than I do, I'm guessing, but the number of people who want to comment on what an effing this and that I am on the internet and how stupid I am. Just the vitriol is just unbelievable. Like,
really?
You don't even know me well enough to know what a moron I am. I'm way more of a moron than you could ever know. Don't even begin to tell me you figured me out in one Instagram reel.
Right.
But the kind of animosity that exists among people, and I don't know about your Facebook feed, but man, in mine, I put up a couple videos today that'll have, I don't know, 50,000, 100,000 views or something like that. So a bunch of comments. Almost all of them, the comments that are anti-immigrant and anti-me and anti-whatever, nearly always, when I look at them and block them, they're either a bot
I was going to say that. I literally was going to say that. I wonder how many
or
are
a
bots.
white guy.
Yeah.
And even the bots are masquerading as a white guy. And as 2 middle-aged and upward white guys.
Right.
Like we got, hey brothers, let's rein each other in. This is ridiculous. Like literally, snowflakes, man up a little bit here.
I know.
And the level to which it's, the
vitriol needs to
the
calm down.
vitriol against each other.
As a Christian, we have got to remember that a soft answer turneth away wrath. We've got to remember that we should speak truth, but in love. So if you feel a way, that's the way we should answer. What is right, what is just, what is good. Like, these are the things. The fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and
Yep.
self-control. So
Yes.
that is what should be coming out. The fruits of me, that could probably be some vitriol, when I let it go
Yeah, that's
and get it wrong.
That's it.
But the
Yep.
fruits of the
Yep.
Spirit are different. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and look, if speaking in love, it can come out in a lot of ways. Some people are excitable. Some people let me talk a lot. Some
Sure.
people can get real loud.
Sure.
But if you know that you're speaking to someone and you actually love them or don't hate them, then be you.
Yeah.
But no matter how you're saying it, if you pretty much have enmity in your heart toward that person,
Yeah.
don't say it, no matter how you're saying it or how you're posturing it.
Yeah.
Truly check yourself. And you're the only one who knows if you just think someone is an effing moron and you
Right.
just want that, I could pull up a couple of clips here of what people have said.
Nobody's ever.
It doesn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what
Why?
in the world are you doing scrolling Facebook and ending up on my feed and so angry? And if you hate me this much, are you sure you don't hate these immigrants? I mean,
Yeah. Like, what is going on? Why are you there saying that? And sometimes, but we get it. It is very interesting. And I've had this in business. I've had it certainly on social on my own page. But when people can say it through an email, people can say it through a text, people can say it on social media. But getting in face to face, not that I'm like, last time I was in a fight, I was in, middle school. But, I'm not a fighting guy. I'm a pacifist, folks.
Right.
But when you get face to face, it changes. And I really think that we've got to get outside of that. We really need to stop seeing people as characters on our screens, that we're made in the image of God. We're children of God. Whether they're believers or not, or follow your sect of Christianity or not, God, at some level, especially if you believe in Jesus, at some level, you've got to believe that they were created by your creator, my creator, created that person as baseline. And he loves them.
Look, if you're not ultimately trying to call people back home to what you understand to be the truth,
Right.
I think you're just missing the opportunity of not only being a Christian, but being a full human being. And that's what we can do for each other. Christians can do it. People that don't hold the faith can do it.
Right.
We're called to call each other into a more full, good, rich life.
Yeah.
And that's, for some of us, that's the contrast that we have. It's just sheer will to power through political success. Like, I want there to be political success because I believe it matters. But I also know we have to call people home to who they are and who they could be, and they'll be as good to their neighbor as they will be to their grandchild or their child or someone they love and call a kin. I mean, that's fundamental Jesus teaching, right? You love God, you love yourself, you love your neighbor and your enemy, and there's no distinction in the love between those four.
He broke it down into two things, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and love others as yourself. And that was it. I mean, that's it.
And frankly, I mean, my pastoral side, I'm afraid I've concluded that for many of us, we do actually love each other the way we love ourselves, because there's a lot of self-hatred.
It's interesting that you brought that up. I was just reading the book the other day that questioned that out, that out of those two rules, he was like, I didn't even know how to love myself, so how could I love? That is a great way to say that. You are totally right. I just read a book that was questioning that.
Yeah, if you have enmity in your heart toward others, check and see if the same thing you've thought about them, you've ever thought quietly in your mind about yourself.
It's very, very.
There's a lot of
interesting.
self-hatred in this world, my
You're
brother.
right.
I mean,
You're right. Well, and it's I mean, it's we're broken and life is hard. I mean, Christians are so hard. Somebody told me, they said that, I'm just trying to live the Christian life. And I thought, well, what is that, brother? Like, what does that look like? Because life is so hard, and what street you're on and what socioeconomics that you've been given from birth to now, the opportunities you had, some of the luck you gained, some of the unluck you gained, some of the things that happened to you that weren't even your fault. They were, 5 people over's fault, or whatever it is, I mean, life is hard. And so I think we've got to find a way to give each other grace. We've got to find a way to move. It's honestly, that's like the one thing I look forward to in heaven is being able to walk full of grace. Full. Like my interactions with people will be so genuine and so authentic and so graceful, and theirs with me. And I kind of look forward to that utopia.
Yeah, there's this old Scottish story about this guy who worked his whole life serving people and caring for people, and he dies and stands before the Lord in this little tale, and the Lord he says to the Lord says hello, and he says, well, Lord, I hope it's okay that I'm here because I done the best that I could. The Lord says, oh, Agnes, no, you didn't, but you done good, and I'm glad you're home. Like the idea that we did our best.
Yeah, best is
Best
we
didn't
didn't matter. Best doesn't matter. Yeah. Best doesn't
But
matter.
if we can do good,
Yeah.
and then we can come home, and when we don't do good, we fix it and we reconcile it, and we step forward. I mean that is what we can do, and we don't have to be bound up in these identities. We certainly don't have to be bound up in our political identities. We don't have to be bound up in somebody telling us how we need to think. We can live a way that, I mean, I really think Jesus' call is my burden is easy
I agree.
and my
with you.
yoke is light.
Light.
Or my burden is light and my yoke is easy.
Right.
I think it's that. And life is hard and Jesus' yoke is easy.
Yep.
We shouldn't be acting like life is easy to be an asshole and the burden to love people is hard. It's just, I think it's not. I think it's harder to hate.
Yep.
I think it's easier to love.
I think people that the most attractional people in my life are usually the ones that are generous. And I don't mean dollar generous. I mean just generous in the way they love, generous in their compliments, generous in putting somebody else and saying, hey, I want to lift you up. I mean, there's some of the most, that's the people that I want to be around. I can remember, even if I go back to grade school, I can think of kids that were, really friends to everybody. I was like, man, I want to be his friend too.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't want to be a friend of a bully, but if somebody was friends with the whole class, you're like, oh man, I really like John. He's friends with everybody. Everybody wants to be his friend. Yeah. And so I think we just lost that a little bit. And I get it that life's hard. But
and what was the critique that they said of Jesus in the Gospels? That he was a friend of sinners.
Friend of sinners. A friend of sinners. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. We've got a Savior that really got us. He knew us. And I like you, John is one of my favorites. And when people tell me, and I'm not surprised by it, as long as I've been doing sort of this ministry adjacent sort of things. I told you earlier I was a default pastor. It kind of, there's a backstory to that I'll have to tell you later. But we one of those things was, as long as I've been doing this, it's very interesting. It's just it's very interesting the waves of Jesus and how little sometimes I think where people encounter Jesus, but then they also don't go any further. I see so many people that will encounter Jesus, and then I'm like, well, have you picked up the Bible? Because it's fascinating. Like, have you picked this up? I think I read somewhere it's like less than 6%, 10%, but it's fascinating. But I, like you, tell people, hey, start in John. Because John talks about this wonderful Savior who is God himself. In every chapter, he points to the deity of Christ. And God himself walked among us and knew everything about us and loved us. And that, to me, is fascinating.
Hey, man, I could talk to you all day.
I
but,
know it. I know
gotta go
it's
to other
time to
things too,
go.
but
It's time to
what an
go.
honor. Thank you.
No,
And
thank
let's
you.
talk anytime.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'd just like to pray us out.
Oh, that'd be fabulous.
Okay,
Please.
so I'm going to pray for us. Doug, thank you again for being here with us. But Father, I want to lift up Doug. I want to lift up Minnesota. I know that there are people that are watching this that may have differences of opinions and political differences, and they could have been screaming at this, and there's folks that have left it. But those that are here right now listening to this part, Father, I pray they lean in and that they know that I believe Doug. I know, I hope you believe me, but I certainly believe our Savior wants us to love each other. And so I pray that we find ways to love each other deeper and harder. And the same way that you love us, we try to love people that way. In your name, we pray. Amen. Thanks.
All right, my friend.
Thanks, my friend.
Thank you for that. Thanks for reaching out.
Absolutely.